Me too. Me too.
I had heaps of fun creating and putting together the other podcast that we did, our first podcast.
Yeah, it was mad. It was real good.
I learned a lot about picture quality and sound quality and using Adobe Premiere. It was like learning another language.
Yeah, it's hard, but I'll give you the reins. So
Yeah.
you have to do it.
Thanks for that.
I'm just telling my story. You're the background, the boss, the apprentice, the everything in between.
That podcast that we first did was pretty lighthearted, though. We spoke about, how we got this conversation started, but today we're going to get stuck into the heavy stuff and your story. And I guess a good place for us to start is, why do you want to talk about this?
I suppose it's been a long time coming. I sort of kept this from my own mum and my stepfather for probably 20 years. And I seeked a little bit of help, and I know a lot of help. And I just thought it was time to share my story and hopefully give people a platform, to be able to talk about, these sort of things that's happening in their life. And yeah, that's probably the main reason, just to be a voice for people and for men as well. We're no different from women, women are different from men. We both all equally live on the earth, and yeah.
So today we want to talk about the physical violence that you experienced as a child. Do you want to talk about, maybe we start with what that actually looked like?
Yeah, yep. So we'll dive straight down into it, probably the heaviest bit of it. My real father was still to this day the most violent man that I've ever come across. He was a very, very bad man. What did it look like? I was about 4 to 5 years old, probably 3 to 5 years old. And my dad was, he was very, very violent. He would use things that he was happening in his life and take his anger out on me. So, yeah.
So between the age of 3 to 5, that's just wild to me, because, you have a 4-year-old son yourself, and, I look at him and he is just, the most gentle-hearted, free-spirited little boy that just sees the world in full colour, and I can't fathom how anyone would want to hurt anyone like that. So, what did he say he was doing it for?
So,
is there ever an explanation?
Yeah. So, not really an explanation. It was more, he was, I sort of had worked it out, even being, so young, I had worked out that every time Dad was yelling at the TV, he was losing a horse race, a bet. He was a very, very bad gambler. And I knew that something was going to happen after that. At that stage, I didn't know, that it was wrong that he was on it or that it was right. I just knew that that's what happened.
Yep.
Because I was just, yeah.
So you were associating his anger with you receiving...
I just was associated with him yelling, as it was just a part of him yelling, and him, obviously I was too young to understand emotions. Yeah. So I would just associate him yelling to him being violent. And, like we've previously discussed, is that I didn't even know what the word violence was.
Yep.
So I just thought it was normal.
Yep. Did you want to talk about what that violence actually looked like? Like just hitting you with things? Or?
Yeah. Probably for anyone listening or watching as well, this is probably going to, trigger a lot of people who have been through the same thing, and just be cautious and take your time with yourself. So what my father did was, when he would lose a horse racing bet, or he would lose, he would take me to my bedroom naked, or take my clothes off, take me naked, and he would tie my hands and feet to the foot and the head of my bed, face down, and he would take his belt off and he would whip me across the back. Now this was still, I can still remember the pain. This had so many issues for me, as I grow up, but we'll get into that later. But at that time, I would pass out from the pain. I would literally just pass out, I'd black out, and I would wake up and I'd be crying because I didn't know where I was, because I was face down in the bed. So he would discipline me, across the back again for crying. If I was outside, he would take me to the clothesline and tie my hands to the clothesline, and he'd whip me with the hose in the face. It's been on for 2 years.
And so when this was actually happening, what were you telling yourself to be able to get through it?
I wasn't really telling myself anything, because like I said before, it was normal. I thought that was just all normal, because I thought that's how Dad showed you love, because Mum was always loving, caring, done her best with everything. So I thought, Dad's, this is what he does, two people can't be the same. How wrong I was.
So at what point did you realise that this wasn't normal?
Yeah, it wasn't
until... What did it take?
Yeah, it wasn't until I probably got into my... until my mum met my stepfather. And, he wasn't like that. But at that same time too, I thought that he didn't love me because he wasn't doing that to me. He wasn't flogging me, he wasn't yelling at me, he wasn't, being just a pure evil person. He was, soft, very soft-spoken. You ask anyone who knows him, and, he's a good fella. But
so that strained your relationship with him to begin with?
Yeah, our relationship was very, it was very hard because, I didn't think he loved me. But for my my real father, at the time, I just thought it was always normal. It was always normal. So it was very hard when I worked it all out that, in my early teen years, that it wasn't normal. That, I would go to my mates' houses and their dads were, they were very cool. And one of my mates' fathers, who has passed away now, he was like a dad to me at sometimes, because, he took me in as his own. Not that my family didn't treat me like that, like my mum, my stepfather, but I just seen how he was with his son, and it was a big thing for me to realise that my dad wasn't being a dad.
And do you think because there was someone other than your stepfather, like a secondary person, kind of confirmed that your stepfather's behaviour was normal?
Yeah, definitely. It was normal, yeah.
Okay, so there's two people now that are good to me. That must mean that, one person that hurt me is bad.
Yeah, that's right, and, you see that relationship, and you see other kids and go through that. My big thing was, when it was all happening, I was like, oh, must have, it must just be normal. And, I'll keep saying that. I thought it was normal because I was so little. And it's so hard to, like you said, it's so hard to grasp the fact of I am a father now, and to have my 4-year-old who I would never harm in a million years. Like it's just so hard to,
to grasp, So moving into adolescence and into early adulthood, I think it's reasonable to assume that you would still be dealing with the psychological trauma that happened when you were a child. So do you want to talk about how that affected your life choices through your teenage years and into your early adulthood?
Yeah, it did. It definitely did, because when, like we just touched on, when I had worked it out, it wasn't, he wasn't being a dad, or it wasn't normal. I had so much anger. It wasn't. I had so much anger at myself for thinking that it was normal. I had so much anger at him for, all I wanted him to do was to love me. And I thought that was him to love me. And then as you get older and work out it's not normal, you don't, you don't, it's not, yeah, it's, you just, like, instantly, like, do not like him because of what he had done to you. So it was very, very hard, I suppose.
It's like you've got to process the anger and resentment that you should have felt throughout that whole period that you didn't.
And then leading into my adult life, like early adult life, even though it's still, till like a year or so ago, is that I would have very bad trust issues with men, with women, in my relationships, because as soon as I felt like someone was going to lie to me or they were lying, it would take me back to being a kid where I was allowing, my father was lying to me. And yeah, it was very, very hard to disassociate him from someone else, because if they were lying to me, from my earliest memory back when I was a kid, someone who's meant to look after you, like your father, especially as a son, like your father they're your idol, they're your superhero. So, for me to understand that he wasn't that, and for them, people then, if they were lying to me, it would take me back to being a kid again. And I had some very, very bad trust issues, and yeah.
Yeah. So in recent times, you've done a fair bit of work. You've committed to making a change and working through the anger and resentment, and, now you want to live. You don't want to just cope. So do you find that it still affects you now?
No, not since, I went and seen a psychologist, at the start of the year, and for a fair while, actually, and I received a therapy from them. Now, I'm not going to mention this therapy because I don't want people who have been through this to just jump straight to this like it's going to fix them. You have to go through the process of it all, and but I've definitely seen a psychologist, and now that I have seen one, I can look back at him now and say, like, you have to die with knowing that you done this to your son. So I'm finally, for the first time in my life, I'm okay with that.
And what do you think the psychologist sort of worked on you, or worked with you on? Was it self-worth, or was it the anger and resentment? Like, what was it that you had to do to work on?
Definitely my anger. I had very bad anger issues, very, very bad. More the fact of, like I just said before, allowing, myself to be vulnerable, but as soon as someone would lie, I would get the shits on pretty bad.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until a few months ago that my whole life changed. It literally did, and this is why I'm doing this now. Is I want people to understand that you're not alone. It's so widely talked about. Sexual abuse, and there's so many people going to court for it. There's so many people going to court for physical abuse, like within their home. It needs to keep having momentum. It's not just ringing a number and talking to them. It's something that happens to someone, and it goes through generations of your family. It's
going to take generations to fix the problem, and the only way we're going to fix it is by talking about it.
Yes, exactly right. And the big thing is it's such a taboo subject. Especially as for men. For men to say that our fathers were violent, it's very hard. Yeah.
Why do you think there's so much shame around it? Is it because that makes you weak, or
to an extent? Yeah, to an extent. But I also think you feel like you're being disrespectful to your dad.
Yeah.
Which if they've if they had gone through what I've gone through, or even any other emotion but love from your father. Obviously, if you do the wrong thing, there's mum will always be the first one in, and then if mum's sort of solution doesn't fix it, then dad always comes through. But yeah, if it's any emotion but love from your father, it's you talk about it. Talk about it. Talk to your mum, talk to your sisters, your uncles, aunties, whatever. Just talk about it, because it's not right.
So, when did it stop, or how did it stop?
Yeah, so this one's it's a bit of still to this day it is a little bit painful. So I'll give you a bit of a story of it. So we had got up one day, me and my twin sister, and we had just noticed some of our dad's things missing. Only being little, we're like, oh, went into mum, and some of dad's stuff's gone. And she's like, what? And so I don't know a lot of this story, but because mum would have obviously kept it a lot from us. But he had lost, the night before, he had lost a very large amount of money to a bookie through a bet, so he had left during the night. Still to this day, I haven't seen him again.
In order to avoid the repercussions of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my mum worked 3 jobs from then to support us. My mum, still to this day, we have our ups and downs, but she's my best friend. And like now I'm a parent. I'm a step parent. I co-parent as well. I see the work that my stepdad and my mum put in but my mum held it down. Yeah, she's
So when you found out that your dad had gone, what was your initial feeling? Was there a sense of relief, or was there sadness?
I was very, very sad, because I thought that because I'd normalised his violence so much, or I didn't know. I shouldn't say normalised, because it's not. I didn't realise, but I thought that dad had left because I kept crying when he was flogging me.
You blame yourself for
it? And I did, and I blame myself for, I can still remember, people say I can't remember much when I was a kid. I can remember the traumatic times because they're so vivid, and it's very, very hard, I suppose, eh?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You're saying that you can remember the violence more than the good times?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was so regular.
Is that because you associated it with love? Like most people, when they experience
from your
trauma.
father, only from my father, not from my mum, because my mum was not violent.
Yeah.
And the big thing too is that, I kept this from my mum. I was only a little kid, My mum would help me get dressed and that, but I would always have I'd be standing like front onto her, or, people, might not believe that this is true, but there would be times I would wear 2 shirts to school because my shirts would stick to it because of, I would have, wounds, or, and I was terrified to tell my mum, because he had said to me, if you tell your mother, you wait, mate, it'll be a whole lot worse. So, it is very hard to talk, about that, but it's a good thing to talk about it.
And you touched on it before about how what happened affects your relationships with other men. What does that look like now, or through your early adulthood?
Through my early adulthood, I didn't really trust anyone, like at all, no one. It was just easy that way. That way, people didn't get close to me because, like I said before, in my early adulthood, if someone got close to me and they lied to me, it instantly took me back to being a kid. So, it was very, with other men, especially growing up, like I sort of gravitated towards the wrong people in that regard. We'll talk about that on the next on the next podcast, because that gets a lot heavier, and I gravitated towards the wrong people in a way that it was a lot worse than this.
You've spoken to me before about how you wanted to become someone that people feared. Is that a way of keeping people at a distance?
Yeah,
because you were
definitely,
scared of
definitely.
being
When I
hurt?
was sort of, when I was just before I had my first son, I was, yeah, a very bad, I would say a bad person because I just didn't want people to get close to me. I didn't want people, it was easier for me to hurt you than you to hurt me. You know, it was like, like I'll get you before you get me.
Yeah.
So, and that was, when you had that sort of stigma and that, you had that sort of, people knew who you were, then people wouldn't go near you. So, because of just, you're so like a tripwire, you would fly off the handle at no for nothing.
And do you find now that you've committed to making a change and investing in yourself that you find it hard to get people who looked at you with fear to change their perception of you?
You've seen that firsthand as well. Like remember when we come back from the footy, we're sitting outside the Marionvale pub having a beer, and that fella had come and just automatically associated me with violence and drugs. And, so it's very hard, but people, if they're watching this or they see it, believe it, because life's a lot different now.
Does it torment you sometimes that people still look at you as the old person?
Yeah, it does. Of course it does. Of course it does. People can change. There's a saying around, a leopard doesn't change their spots. They do. Like I've talked about, in order for us to be able to grow, we must experience things that are uncomfortable. We must go through things that, where we get right to the bottom of ourselves, and that allows us to rebuild. That, I'm a bigger person on analogies, and if a building falls over in a storm, do they rebuild it the same? No, they never ever do. So they rebuild it stronger, and I believe.
So going through this experience where you see people, maybe not giving you a second chance or whatever, do you find that makes you more empathetic towards other people now? Like you can look at other people.
Yeah, definitely. It all depends on what this person they have done, but there's obviously a limit to it. But yeah, definitely. Everyone can change, and just by talking to someone and understanding them, like back to the first podcast, is that if you understand each other's story, then you become united. And most of the time, people are doing bad things or have done bad things or whatever, is because they've experienced something in their life that has changed them.
They're doing the best they can with the knowledge that they've got.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. I want to talk about how your experience growing up affects how you bring your kids up now.
Yeah, I knew this was going to come. Yeah.
Sit with it for a minute if you need to.
Yeah, so the big thing for me about being a dad is, and I am a dad, and I love my kids, I love my stepkids, I love, I love kids in general because, they're so innocent, they're sponges, they are what we make them to be. A kid doesn't come out with bad words, they don't have bad manners just because they make it up.
Everyone's born inherently good.
They're a product of what we provide. Like I look at my life, I was a product of what happened to me. Yeah, I was, because I went down the wrong path for a long time.
At what point did you figure that out though? Because there is a lot of people that don't realise
probably,
that, they're not.
Yeah, you do realise it because you're not going to work, you're doing this, really, really bad things, and ultimately you end up in one place, or two places, you're gonna end up in jail or you're gonna end up dead. So that's a big thing. That's probably the point I realised, is probably I would say when I had Eli. I realised, all this shit needs to stop because you have someone there that depends on you. You're not. If you're going to be out doing that sort of stuff, how selfish are you? And that refers back to your question: is that how does it affect me parenting now? Is because I can honestly say that I'll never be like him. I'll never be like my father because he was of violent men. Yeah, I do believe in discipline, but to no great extent. It's more of like, a punishment of like, I'm going to take this off you, or, or we're going to go and do a little bit of work, like, just around the yard, or,
Consequences, but without violence. Yeah,
that's right. You don't need to be violent to get your point across. And I think a lot of men and women need to understand that, is because, it doesn't just stop at that one smack in a kid's eyes or their brain, or because their brain is so susceptible to information that if you're doing that to them, then like me, it becomes normality.
Yeah. And so, what advice would you give to other people that have experienced something similar in terms of seeking support, or managing their anger, or anything?
Yeah, I'm going to probably address two people, like both sides of the coin first, because it does need to be addressed. To the people that are going through it, you're definitely not alone. You're not the only one that's been through it, and you should be the last person that goes through it. But unfortunately, it's never going to be that way. Advice I can give you is, if you're old enough to speak out about it, speak out, no matter the consequence. Don't turn to that. Surround yourself with good people, but I can't tell you to go and see a psychologist. I can't tell you to go and see a counsellor. It's up to you where you feel most comfortable, but find where you are comfortable. Because where you're comfortable is where you'll start to have change. We will never ever change for a better after experiencing something like that, unless we are comfortable, we are loved, and we are appreciated. There's so many variables that go into that.
Yeah.
As you get older, if you keep it from your family like I did, it's very hard. You have a very disjointed family life because they can't understand why you are like you are.
It festers.
Of course it does. Yeah, it festers, and it's a very big burden to carry. Now, for anyone who is going through it, reach out to me if you want, and I can give you advice, or, only because I've been through it, I can't give you medical advice, or, I can't tell you what to do, but I can give you advice.
Connect,
and connect with me. To the people that are doing it, I'll say this in a really nice way. It just doesn't affect that one smack. It doesn't affect just him. It affects his sisters, your partner, your family. It affects everyone around the person that you've done that to. So,
not just immediately either, but the people that surround them in the future.
Yep, it's generational, And it doesn't affect them just at that 1 year or that 10 years. Look at me 20 years later. It took that long to be able for me to go and get help. So that's the big thing. And I'm trying to be nice about it. Is stop doing it. There's so many other avenues for you to take anger out. Don't do it on someone that you're their superhero. You're you're the idol there. My mum, my mum is still my rock. Don't take it out on someone who looks up to you and all they want from you is love. It's a big thing.
Is there anything else that you think is important to share on this particular topic today?
Just, if I can come out and talk about it, so can you. Whether if you want to talk to me about it or talk to someone about it, but talk to someone about it, because when you keep something inside and it builds up and builds up, people say you snap and you do this and that, but realistically, no one knows what goes on in your head. And it's something that's very painful, both emotionally and physically, but it's also something that has such a massive effect, a ripple effect on everyone around you. Probably the other thing too is that if you have, your parents do move on, or it could be anyone. Like it could be your parents, could be your sister, your cousin, whatever. If they do move on, accept the person that they've moved on with. Like for me, it took me so long to accept my stepdad. He is my dad. My stepdad is my father. I love him, and he loves my mum and he loves my sisters. So accept them, because who knows what they've been through as well, and they just want to make you feel loved.
Yeah. I have been humbled by your story, and I'm just so incredibly proud of where you are today and who you are today. And it makes me sad to know that this particular chapter isn't the end of your story, and in the next episode
it gets a whole lot worse.
Yep.
This is probably, if you want to listen to any of them, listen to the next one, because what happens next in my life is more of my life.
I don't even know how to conclude from that. Like, it's such a heavy it's so heavy.
Love you.
I love you too.
Good. No.
You okay?
Yeah. Good.
You did good with everything.
Yeah.